welcome to the press conference. A little word of introduction before we start at the table. I want to introduce the people at the first row, the producers of the film, Gregory and Stephen Rails. We have the co-writer and the partner, co-writing partner with Wes Anderson, Monsieur Roman Coppola, and kind of God himself, I mean, at least in the film, Bill Murray. At the table now, I'm going to start by the very end over there. We got Richard Ayoade. Sure. Rupert Friend. Riz Ahmed. Mia Stapleton. Right next to me, Benedict Cumberbatch. Michael Cera. Benicio del Toro. And Monsieur le réalisateur Wes Anderson. All right, guys, I'm going to start. I want to start with a question for everybody, all the actors here. First, the returning one and the newcomers. I mean, for us, watching the new movie by Wes Anderson, for us movie lovers, for us cinephiles, it's like going back home. I mean, it's like, of course, never the same movie, but we feel like going back. Well, home. This is something that we really like. I wonder for let's start with the returning ones, the returning actors. How does it feel to go back on a Wes Anderson set? Let's start with you, Benedict, since you're next to me.
Well, it's only my second, but it did feel like home. And it's just a charmed place of invention, particular aesthetic, and a constraint that's both a constraint but also a sort of Zen-like discipline in stripping away everything you thought you were supposed to be doing with the character and realizing that Wes has already envisaged all of it. I mean, you are in the hands of a master and you just give into it, and it's a joy. It's in my case, in this one, it was physical, it was crazy, a lot of stuff withheld, and then a physical explosion in the fight at the end, and I had a blast, and it was a very short bit of work, but to be acting alongside Benicio as well, that was very new and wonderful, and that was kind of the trip of this one. And me as well, and Michael in just one line in that scene, but still to be sharing space with them was phenomenal. Richard, you're returning too?
I mean, it's a joy, and initially when Wes first asked me to be in a film, I assumed a clerical error, but when I discovered that he intended the mistake, I showed up and was very happy to so do. And yeah, I mean, he's evidently one of the greats, and so just to be around it is undeserved and wonderful.
Rupert.
I think it's rare to be able to step inside somebody's imagination, let alone somebody with as rich and fertile an imagination as Wes. And so to sort of step into these sets, which are all created to the most exacting detail, they're not sort of done afterwards in post, it really does feel like stepping inside the mind of someone who I admire enormously and like enormously. So I was very happy to come back.
And you, Benicio, how was it to come back?
Well, I think I echo everything that everyone said. Thank you.
Directing, sound
directing. Can't help it. The thing is, for me, I think it's an honor, really. You know, the fact that I was called back, and with such a character, and the intensity of the character, the arc of the character, and then you're surrounded by incredible talent, and but the main thing is that I think when Wes calls me, or how I feel, is that I get to channel the kid in me to really explode. and that's like that's unique as an actor for me, my experience with Wes.
And for the newcomers, how is it to get inside Wes's troupe, if I could call it like this way? Let's start with you, Michael, since you're next to me.
It's thrilling, really thrilling to be asked. And
You almost did the previous one, did you?
that's right. I wanted to. Wes asked me to do a small role in Asteroid City that I unfortunately couldn't do when the dates moved, and that was really crushing, really heartbreaking. And I was worried that Wes would hold it against me in some way, and I would never be invited again. But then this invitation, redeemed it sort of tenfold. So, yeah, just it was a gift.
Riz?
Yeah, it's like nothing else really. It's completely unique. It's completely unique in the best kind of way. It feels quite dreamlike, to me at least, in two ways. One, in that the stories themselves, they have a kind of dreamlike quality. At least that's how I describe it. The characters are so vivid and yet so distinctive. The situations, the plot, it all feels kind of heightened, but in a way that is, I would describe it as dreamlike, but also a dream because you're having to pinch yourself when you look to your left and right and see who else is on set, and you just want to steal all the props all the time. Everything is so beautifully designed. Everything's just you kind of having to kick yourself, and there's something about it that's truly unique and wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, much like Richard, I assumed clerical error to the point where when I got the phone call from my agent saying, "You've been offered the job," I made her hang up and go and call them back. And then she called me back and said, "They just laughed me off the phone." No, this is not a mistake. And then I sat down on the floor of the bike locker in the train carriage that I had hidden myself in and had a really long cry. I couldn't really believe that. In fact, I was going through some journals. I found a box of old journals very recently, and I stumbled across an entry from 2013 that said, "Watching Moonrise Kingdom again. Bloody love this film. Really wish I could work with Wes Anderson one day." And that's true. Yeah. So, of course, I saw Moonrise Kingdom when I was 12, and I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox when I was 8 or 9. So I've been aware, and I completely fell in love with the story of Moonrise Kingdom. And then suddenly I was dressed as a nun walking into a marble palace, and then it still didn't really sink in, and it still hasn't sunk in now, and I still feel like I'm dreaming. And I felt like I was learning something new every single day, and that was the most exciting thing. To get to go to work and wake up and go, "Yes, I get to go to work again. This is amazing." That was the best bit.
Wes, I'm going to open the floor to questioning in a sec, but I wanted to ask you, because I'm curious, what makes for you the starting point of your stories? I mean, okay, you can explain what is the starting point of this one, but what I really want to know is what lights the fuse that you, in your mind, say, "Yes, I got it. I got something with, I want to tell the Corda story, or I want to tell this story." And how does that work in your mind when you know that you got this?
Well, do you know, one thing, I feel I'm lucky so far that when I finish a movie, there's always something I feel is waiting, about to start to take shape. I brought this one up to Benicio when we were here in Cannes, I guess 4 years ago. We were the French Dispatch was showing in Cannes, and I said to Benicio, there's something is going to be. I hope you'll be interested in this. I think something's going to be coming your way. And that movie, the beginning of the movie was just him, and just an image of him as this character. I didn't know what happened or what was going to happen. I just knew this character, and I think he's moving relentlessly through this story, and you can't kill him. And that was that was really all it was. But each one kind of has, I read something, Tom Stoppard was saying that every time he writes a play, he doesn't have an idea for a play. He has 2 ideas that have sort of nothing to do with each other. and they meet, and the thing starts to happen from that. And I feel like that's what's always happened with me. You know, I want to make a movie on a train, and separately, I'm thinking I also want to make a movie in India, and you know, it leads somewhere. And you know, and also when you talk to people who have worked with me before, and the ones who haven't, it's funny because I feel like if you would ask me, have you worked with Michael Cera? I think so. Or no, maybe this is the first time. You know, it just feels natural that some of us, when we start to work together, to me, I feel like we're already part of the same company.
All right, we're going to start the question. I think it's Jason, you have a question here.
Hi, I'm from Canada. Thank you for bringing Canadian royalty here in the form of Michael Cera. So I became a little bit obsessed with the opening shot of Benicio, you in a tub getting scrambled eggs, as the typeface has a gray outline that perfectly matches the tiles on the floor. And I'm thinking the precision that you bring, Wes, to these films is extraordinary. Each frame is a painting. Yet you inject so much humanity. You have handheld shots in this film. So I'm asking you, how do you keep it so precise and painterly, but still have this injection of humanity? And as performers, if you could talk about meeting your marks that you have to, compositionally, but still from a performance point of view, find ways of not only making the characters your own, but making them thrive and feel active, rather than just still elements within a painterly frame.
Well, maybe I'll start maybe my best way to answer it is to describe a bit how we did that shot you're referring to with the titles on it, because you're right. The text in the shot, it begins with a mistake. The tile on the floor in that room is 3 different colors, gray, black, and white. A gray, a black, and a white. There's many kinds of gray, and there's many kinds of white, and there are many kinds of black in the world, but it has a version of each. And it's very hard to read text on it. And the only way, we spent a lot of time getting great writing to be readable. And so, we ended up using the 3 colors of the floor in layers, and it was endlessly time-consuming. But we did get a kind of thing that I feel like seems just right. And the shot itself we shot it with Benicio's hearing the music that plays in the shot in the movie while we're on the set. The actions of it are planned out with a group of nurses, many of whom are real nurses or doctors, who are doing these various activities in the room. And it's meant to go in a certain way, where the music was an idea, but in fact, because it's being shot at something like 120 frames per second or something like that, you have no idea how it's going to relate to the music. The timing, you can only kind of guess it a bit. And so then it's just luck. And mainly what it is the shot is a shot of Benicio. This is the guy who's going to be at the center of the whole movie, and we're above him, and he's a magnet. And so in a way, for me, it combines these things, because to me, what it ends up being in the end with all the other ingredients is it's a performance that's there, that's introduced, that's taking us into the story. But it is a lot of little things that get figured out along the way, and some are planned and turn out the way we meant, and half of it is surprises.
If I may add to that, as I recall it went like this. You're going to be in the bathtub. The nurses are going to come in and do their thing. You're going to eat. You're going to read. You're going to smoke. But I'm going to shoot it in slow motion. I said, okay, cool. And then he said, but I need you to act really fast. Everyone is going to go really fast. And I'm sitting there in the bathtub, and I say, well, time. If we're going to do it really fast and you're going to shoot it in slow motion, isn't that like the same as doing it normal? And he goes, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. And it isn't. And I think one of the things that drives Zaza in this movie is competition. And I think perhaps sometimes I go, why was he thinking about me? And I think we're all competitive in one way or another. So my sense of competition was to try to nail all that really fast. So I sat in that bathtub for I think 7 hours, 8, and I never left. because we wanted to get it right, and you know, super proud of the outcome. And it isn't, fast and slow doesn't make real. It makes something new, and I was mesmerized last night seeing it on the big screen. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to go a little deeper on that. I mean, for the actors, the precision that Wes is asking is, it must make the work even more difficult. Does it, or does that liberate you? I don't know if there's a good answer to that.
You mean for the actor?
For the actors, yeah. The precision that is asking from you.
No, perhaps more challenging, but I think that we all want a challenge. And it also, within those boundaries for me, you find you have to bring yourself something to a Wes Anderson film. You just don't just go through the numbers, 'cause that's not going to work. So you find a way to do it. It's you know, we were talking about that, Benedict. You know, you do find yourself in it. So, but it's more challenging. It's exciting. It is exciting. It's all coming from there's a goal, and everybody is marching in that direction. So it's very exciting.
All right, we got a question right here.
Hello, Ben Dalton from Screen International. Congratulations to you all on the film. This is a question for Wes Anderson. You shot this film in Germany with a wonderful international cast. We're here at maybe the premier international film festival. I'm interested to know, what did you make of Donald Trump's post on social media recently about films made outside the US having 100% tariffs coming into America? What were your thoughts on that?
I thought you were going to say he was giving us a plug or something. I was like, did Trump see it? The tariff, you know, the tariff is fascinating because the 100% tariff, I never heard of a 100% tariff before. I'm not an expert in that area of economics, but I feel that means he's saying he's going to take all the money. And then what do we get? So it's complicated to me. I also think, does it mean he's good at, like, can you hold up the movie in customs? I feel it doesn't ship that way. So I just don't know. I'm not sure. I want to know the details first. So I'll hold off on my official answer.
All right, we got a question, I think, from Brazil.
Oh, hi, question here from Rodrigo Fonseca, Correio da Manhã, Brazil. Wes, a wonderful film, as usual. Could you tell us a few words about your creative process with Milena Caronero, your costume designer?
Yes, Milena. You know, I think Milena and I now have 23 years together. And I first met her because we were working in Italy with Bill Murray, and she sort of appeared in our lives. There he is. This is Bill Murray, and you know, she comes. You know, I think her first movie was Clockwork Orange. She had good credits. You know, when I looked at the CV, she's also, you know, Roman had known her for many years already before that. You know, we have dinner together, the whole cast and the department heads, as we call them, each night. And Milena comes to dinner, but she always comes, first of all, you're only supposed to, the dinner, we can only have so many people at the dinner. So you kind of like, the cameraman comes, the first assistant cameraman comes, the second assistant cameraman has to eat someplace else. But Milena arrives always with everybody. Her entire group of Italians, 11 people sometimes. And they're not invited, but they come. And we we allow them all to come in because they arrive just before midnight, because Milena keeps them working all hours because that's what she's like. She's the one where before they come in, I say, make sure there's enough for everybody. Let's set it up for them. They're arriving. Because the person who's going to stay up late and happens to also be, you know, among the 3 greatest living costume designers on the planet, to me the best, that person has to be taken care of. And that's Milena, yeah.
Okay, we're going over there.
Hi. Ellie Mastoru from Belgium. I have a question for Wes Anderson. Hi. I've been following your work since 2008 when I was a cinema student in Paris, and I did my master's thesis on family structures and the work of Wes Anderson. So,
Good subject. Yeah.
So basically all of your films since and after 2008 have been about family in a way. In the broad sense of family, adopted kids, mentors, close friends. So I wanted to know, what did you want to explore? What aspect of family did you want to explore in this father-daughter relationship? Thank you.
Yes. Well, you know, part of it is you know, whatever it has to do, probably, you know, I have a daughter. Roman has a daughter. If I may say, she's turning 14 today. And she's right
Happy
there.
birthday!
Pascal. Right there. Pascal.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Pascal. Happy birthday to you.
What was the question?
About family.
Yes. Well, yeah, I think if it hadn't been that I have a daughter, Roman has a daughter, Benicio has a daughter, then probably Jaja wouldn't. I think that's somehow built into it. But the way that relationship, I think, first entered the movie was really probably because my wife was telling me. My wife, who's Lebanese, her father was a Lebanese engineer and businessman, and she was telling me. I said, my dad, she had gone to have a meeting with, he asked to have a meeting with her one day. This is a number of years ago. And she came back and she told me, he told me, I want you to be ready if I'm unable to handle my business, my relation, I want you to know what happens if I'm not able to deal with everything. And he opened a closet and started taking out these shoe boxes and describing these different projects, engineering projects in different parts of the world. And her reaction at the end, what she said was like, this is crazy. Yes. And she was kind of, you know, it was complicated. And in a way it meant, I'm the only one who can actually deal with this. It's so complicated, but you need to know. And that was the beginning. The character ended up having a lot to do with him, and the movie's dedicated to him because he was just, you know, unforgettable, special, great person. And yeah, that's the part of the family. It's in a way, it's my family, but it's my wife's family. Yeah.
Okay, Monsieur.
Hossam Fahmy, a film critic from Chrome, Egypt. Question also for Wes Anderson. Your character, your protagonist, is taking unethical decisions. Still, we are building empathy towards him, especially in the final chapters. How you embed this empathy in your screenplay. And I would like also if you speak more about Fouad Malouf. The homage is, I think he's your father-in-law.
Yes.
I Googled him, I didn't find anything about him.
Yeah, what's that?
I Googled him to know more about him. I didn't find anything about him online.
Yes. Well, he's a private person. But Fouad died. So you're not going to hear more things about Fouad. I'll tell you just one thing about that. He was very warm, wise person. He was very alpha. And, you know, he was somebody where the first impression is, I'm maybe a little scared. But he was, in fact, great. But he was strong. And you know, I mean, I remember I asked him, like, what the men who worked with him were like when I first met him. In the first conversation I had with him, he told me, all lions, all lions. I only work with lions. I'm like, wow, I don't know if I have any lions in my thing. But he was a lion. And anyway, I mean, you know, if you went to a restaurant with him, he would just look at the people and they'd say, and they'd get, you know, he'd say, move that table over here, we're going to sit now. We've been waiting too long. And they would just do it. And I always like that, you know. They don't do that for me. And then the other half of the question was, what was the first half?
About empathy. Empathy for the character.
So Benicio and I, you know, I told Benicio about this idea very early, before there was any script. But once there was anything, I started sharing the parts with Benicio, and we together started working on this movie so early. You know, Benicio was a part of forming the character with me. And I think one thing is that when you cast Benicio in the part, there's him, you know? This character has a ruthlessness and a brutality, but the layers are in Benicio. And because I knew it's going to be him, that informed where the story took Roman and I while we were writing it, I think. And I think the other thing is, well, you know, you know, my theory is that that the whole business venture that this character goes on, without him knowing it, is actually just a way for him to get back his daughter. He's created a sort of vast ritual that they're going to go through, and in the end, I don't think it is less and less the thing he wants. He's been facing his own death again and again. And I may be explaining too much about it, but you know, the thing that changes this person, whose point of view would normally never be changed by anything, by all the books he's reading and all the art he's buying and all the travel he's doing, his death is beginning to change him and actually getting through to him, and he's reconsidering. And you know, we always felt like for him to go through this whatever level of transformation he goes through at the end of the movie, it's got to be contained in him from the beginning. It's got to be there to evolve. And so that was something we talked about, and you know, and then Benicio just took it from there. I didn't do anything, but I knew he's going to do it. So yeah.
Okay, we got a question over there.
You want to expand on that? Yeah.
He did a lot to it.
Hi, I'm Ksenia Baluk, Snoop Magazine, St. Petersburg, Russia, and really excited because it's my first film festival and first press conference. It's an honor to be here for me. Thank you. Thanks. And my question goes to Wes. Your films are something amazing, like fairy tales, not with happy end and not joyful, whatever. What exactly inspires you to make such stories?
Well, I think, you know, every movie's different. You know, I mean, with all the things that I feel, you know, somebody says they watched one of the trailers for my movies and they can tell in 5 seconds that's my movie. And for me, and I understand why they have that experience, and I can't pretend. I don't know what we're talking about. But for me, each movie is a completely separate, different thing. And the whole thing is we're excited to tell this new story, and we have a new set of characters, and we have these people, these guys to do it with. So I can sort of answer on a case-by-case basis. And with me, this movie began for me and Roman. We were writing something that we intended to be very dark. You know, a character who is not really concerned with how the big decisions he has empowered himself to make for the world are affecting populations of workforces and landscapes. And there was, you know, the darkness of a certain kind of capitalist that we were building this on. But it took us somewhere else, you know. So I feel like that's somehow that becomes, you know, we need the psychiatrist's couch to really answer it properly, and even then I don't know. But it's in the DNA somehow.
All right, gentleman in the back shirt over there in the middle.
Faye Winkel for Latin America. I have a question for Benicio. By the way, I wrote my will before coming, and I didn't get it to sign, so you guys are my witness, okay? It goes everything for my daughter and both daughters, not one, and my wife, okay? Anyway, for Benicio, talking about death, if you could choose, what way would you like to die, and how would you like to be remembered?
Wow, it's getting really morbid. Just because, are you asking that because I'm dressed in black? You know, I really don't think about legacy or anything like that, and you know, I just, you know, you tell me. I don't have a thought which way I would like to die. I guess I really don't want to die in an accident.
Yeah, I don't want to die.
No.
But you know, but our guy in the movie, he wants a pyramid. I do like the idea of a pyramid.
Yeah, well, yeah. He wants a pyramid.
And the father. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to resolve everything too as well. But yes, surprise me.
All right, we got a question over there. Quick, go for it. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Clémentine for Road to Cinema, and I have questions for you, Wes Anderson. This film feels a bit darker, sometimes more violent, but still with your usual humor and joy. Does it reflect sometimes changing in you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm not sure. I think, you know, it's a story, you know, and the story is something to do with me and with Roman and, you know, and with Benicio. But you know, the next movie is different. You know, the next movie is also pretty dark, I think. Actually, can I announce our project?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yes. The next Roman and Richard and I are working on a script together for a movie, and I think it does have a darkness. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I might as well. It's a press conference. I'm going to announce something. It's actually the first time.
Can I also announce my tariff?
It's the first time I've ever announced anything. Yeah. But yes, we're gonna. But all I'm gonna say is we're gonna write a movie together anyway. So I'm not gonna tell you anything. But it's a little dark. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's official.
We are here, right here. Pardon.
Judita da Silva from Arise Play, Nigeria. My question is for Benicio, and it's kind of about the mechanics of what you do as an actor. Watching the role of Zaza, you see this man who has emotional responses to things that are unconventional at best, but bizarre at worst. When you see someone like that on the page, and you know you've got to translate him into something convincing and compelling on screen for us, the audience, to connect, how do you find an organic interpretation of a man that is so distinctly atypical? Did you have any confusion trying to find him in order to become him and do it well?
I think the steps are usually the same. As you read the story, you read the script. I mean, I had the opportunity of talking to Wes, but I would consider that like reading the script in a way and asking questions. But I think in this story, in the Phoenician scheme, most of my information that I would probably have to provide from my own ideas into other scripts, most of the information was on the page. And by that I mean his backstory is on the page. The dream sequences talk about, they give me an emotional map of where I have to be emotionally at certain points in the story. So I use that, and then I start with me. What would I do? And then I go with like research that you might do, photographs, Wes, inspirations that Wes and Roman use for the script. And then from then, I just go with my own life and people that I've met, and I'm many things, and this part in particular was so juicy. There were so many options of where to go because the character is full of contradictions, and he's evolving from A to Z, and so it was really challenging and exciting, and you just give everything you can to Wes, and then he does his magic in the editing room, and and then you get what you get. But it's always the process. It's the same. It's the script. It's me. It's information, and then conversations with him, and and the humor. Something that we talked about, and it says you just be honest and serious, and if the humor comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay, we're going right over there.
Rebecca Olsen from One Press TV Sweden. This is kind of a combination question for Wes Anderson and Michael Cera. So, Michael Cera, you were so perfect. Like, you just fit in so perfect in this film. And I was just really impressed. It was natural. And I'm wondering, and I think a lot of people are wondering, are we going to see more Michael Cera in Wes Anderson films?
I
take that, or you?
I mean, to me, I say yes.
I
but
say
I'm
yes.
just asking.
I'll agree with Wes.
Good, great.
With a hopeful yes.
Well, let's shake on it.
Okay.
Sometimes people say yes and they don't really mean it later. Sometimes scheduling gets involved, and I'm just saying let's get this on the record.
It's more a comment for God, but it felt like watching him discover and use Michael was like God discovering water. It seems like a pretty obvious natural element to have in his arsenal as a filmmaker. It was the perfect partnership.
Okay, juste là. Allez-y.
Hello. My name is Ayako Ishizu for Korea Web in Japan. And thank you for the great film with the great performances. And well, actually, I went to the Wes Anderson exposition at the Cinematheque, that's what I said. Wow. But including these films, the new films are always beautiful, funny, sensitive, and cruel at the same time. So what do you care, pay attention most to keep that together? Yeah, except Bill Murray. Thank you.
Well, I think, so you saw that you were in Paris at the exposition. Let's plug it. She's referring to our Cinematheque exhibition that's will continue now through July in Paris at the Bercy Cinematheque. Tickets. Yeah.
You want to give the subway station?
What?
You want to give the subway station?
No, it was about Bercy. But every movie I think, you have your ideas of what you think the movie is meant to be, and then it sort of leads you there. It leads you somewhere else. It leads you to what it wants to be. That happens at different points in the thing. Writing a script, whatever you think sometimes the script it thinks otherwise, and it takes you somewhere else. And when you get a cast like this together, the cast is like just this electric force that's around you all through, and the movie is, the movie is them. The movie is them, so for me, my job is sort of shaping and sculpting this thing that sort of seems to already exist and takes its own shape. But thank you for visiting the exhibition.
Okay, we have time for one more question. So, gentleman against the wall over there.
Hello, guys. I am Gabriel Amora from Jornal O Otimista, Fortaleza, Ceará, Brazil. By the way, Mr. Anderson, Brazil love you so much. And I want to know if you would be interested in making a sequel to one of your movies.
Sequel to one of the movies?
And why not Moonrise Kingdom?
And why not? Yes. Well, let's say yes, first of all, and we'll skip the why not. We'll do The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou too. Shall we?
Bill, you're in? Madame, messieurs, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.